Okay, let's dive into this. Imagine hearing about an attack, right? Deep inside Russia. We're talking thousands of kilometers away from any front line.
Yeah, exactly. And not some massive missile barrage, but apparently small drones.
Small drones, yeah. And here's the really wild part reported. Launched from something like a lorry. A truck.
That's the really striking premise in some of the reporting we've looked at, detailing this recent operation attributed to Ukraine.
Targeting Russia's strategic bomber bases.
Yeah.
Places you'd think were, pretty secure, far from the action.
Very far. Considered well beyond the reach of, let's say, typical conventional attacks.
Right. It sounds like something out of, I don't know, a spy novel. But we've been digging into the reports about these alleged events.
We're looking at sources that are laying out what they say happened, the methods allegedly used, and the kind of impact they're claiming.
Exactly. These accounts give specifics, or at least alleged specifics, locations, techniques, the claimed results of this. Well, audacious raid seems like the right word.
It does. Audacious.
So our mission here in this deep dive is to really get into the weeds of these reports for you. How was this supposedly pulled off?
What kind of damage are they claiming?
Yeah, and maybe the bigger picture question. Does this signal some kind of major shift? In modern warfare tactics, the vulnerabilities it exposes.
It's definitely worth unpacking, helping you grasp the potential implications quickly.
Okay, so where do these reports start? What's the initial story?
Well, according to the accounts we've reviewed, it seems to kick off around noon, June 1st. Social media in Russia starts buzzing.
Buzzing how?
People in places really far out, like Irkutsk province in eastern Siberia, that's, 4,000 kilometers from Ukraine.
Oh, wow, yeah. Deep.
They're posting footage describing seeing small quadcopter-type drones. And here's the key part. Apparently emerging from lorries, from trucks, and heading towards a nearby airfield.
Out of a lorry, just like parked somewhere. There was one account, wasn't there, about someone at a tire shop seeing this?
Yeah, reportedly saw a truck pull in, drones fly out, and similar stories apparently popped up near Murmansk, way up north.
And other places too, central Russia.
Reports mentioned Ryazan, Ivanovo provinces as well. It's the seeming ubiquity of the launch platform, the ordinary truck. That's kind of jarring.
It really is. It sort of changes the whole security picture, doesn't it, if that's feasible?
It absolutely changes the calculus. Now, the claims circulating are that Ukraine's main security agency, the SBU, took responsibility.
Okay.
They allegedly gave it a code name, Operation Spiderweb. And their claim is, well, it's a big one.
How big?
At least 41 Russian aircraft destroyed or damaged across 4 different airfields.
41. Okay, hold on. 41 aircraft. That number just feels astronomical, doesn't it? Especially using small drones launched from trucks deep inside Russia.
It is a very high number, and we should stress that's the claim as reported.
Right. Is there any way to independently verify something on that scale, or are we really just looking at the attributed source's claim for now?
For now, yes. We're primarily relying on the source claims as they've been reported. Independent verification of battlefield claims, especially deep in enemy territory like this, is notoriously difficult.
Okay. But the types of aircraft they reportedly targeted, these are important ones, right?
Extremely important. High-value assets. We're talking about those rare A-50 early warning planes. Think Russia's version of NATO's AWACS.
Critical command and control, long-range eyes in the sky.
Exactly. And also Tu-22M3 and Tu-95 strategic bombers, the kind they use to launch those big cruise missiles against Ukraine from a safe distance.
And Russia just doesn't have hundreds and hundreds of these, do they? What are the estimated numbers?
Estimates vary, but yeah, the total strategic bomber fleet, Tu-22s, Tu-95s, the newer Tu-160s, is probably under 90 operational aircraft, maybe even fewer.
And many are older, Soviet designs. Replacing them isn't quick or easy.
Right. Production of new ones is very slow, or non-existent for some older types. So the idea of taking out or even just damaging a significant fraction of that fleet, let alone a number like 41, deep inside Russia, would be, well, a massive blow, if true.
A massive if, but yeah, the potential impact is huge.
And that points to what these reports suggest about capability development. If this reporting is accurate, It's not just about Ukraine having better long-range drones.
It's more than that.
It suggests a really remarkable and probably deeply alarming for Russia level of undercover operational ability inside Russian territory itself.
Smuggling things in, setting up launches, that kind of thing.
Precisely. Some commentators are already calling this, based on the reports, one of the most significant raiding actions in modern military history.
And the reports indicate this wasn't just some quick, opportunistic strike.
No, the sources claim it was 18 months in the making.
18 months. Wow.
Yeah. A long planning cycle. And what's really interesting is how it allegedly flipped Russian expectations. They were apparently geared up for attacks by larger fixed-wing drones, probably at night, closer to the border.
The usual pattern they'd seen.
Right. But this was reportedly small drones, during the day, launched from thousands of kilometers away, internally.
That presents a totally different defensive challenge.
Totally different. Think about the logistics and intelligence needed to counter that. The reports suggest maybe 150 drones and 300 bombs might have been smuggled into Russia.
Smuggled how? Does it say?
Not in detail, but it mentions the drones were apparently designed to be hidden inside wooden cabins loaded onto these lorries.
Okay.
And the cabin roofs could be retracted remotely to release the drones. They even reportedly used Russian mobile networks to send footage back to Ukraine.
Using Russian cell networks? That's bold.
It's a notable detail, adds another layer of complexity and, frankly, audacity, if true.
It sounds incredibly sophisticated, assuming these reports hold water. Automated targeting was mentioned, too.
Elements of it, yes. And one detail that really stands out, reported from a Ukrainian intelligence source, was the suggestion that the truck drivers themselves likely had no idea what they were actually carrying.
Seriously? Like the Kerch Bridge attack in 2022 where the bomb was hidden in that truck shipment?
Exactly the parallel they drew. It just highlights the potential for plausible deniability and the sheer difficulty in spotting preparations like this if they're cleverly concealed with ordinary commerce or activity.
Operational security nightmare for the defender.
Absolutely. The source described it as like a multi-stage chess game. They even hinted the Russians might have been subtly encouraged to concentrate planes at certain bases because of earlier, perhaps diversionary Ukrainian strikes elsewhere.
Like setting the stage.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Apparently, just 3 days before this big alleged raid, dozens of planes had moved to the Olenya airfield up in Murmansk province.
And is that one of the bases reportedly hit hard?
That's reportedly where the most damage occurred. So if that sequence is accurate, it suggests a level of strategic manipulation that's, well, quite something to think about.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap the key takeaways from these reports for you, the listener.
Right. First, the location and method. Alleged attacks thousands of kilometers inside Russia.
Using small drones, seemingly launched from everyday vehicles, like lorries. A method that's simple, maybe in concept, but incredibly hard to stop if it's initiated from within.
Then there's the claimed scale. Over 40 high-value strategic aircraft reportedly damaged or destroyed across 4 bases. A huge number, though. Again, verification is the key challenge here.
Definitely need that caveat. And finally, the reported sophistication. Maybe 18 months of planning.
Smuggling hundreds of drones and bombs, this multi-stage approach, possibly remote launches, maybe even leveraging local mobile networks.
So this operation, if these claims detailed in the reports are largely accurate, it isn't just another tactical event in the war.
No, it's potentially a major demonstration. It shows how accessible tech, things like small drones, combined with clever methods, can seriously challenge traditional security thinking.
Shifting the focus from border defenses to, well, internal vulnerabilities, it really shows you how fast the rules of engagement, the whole nature of vulnerability, can change.
Exactly. And that brings us to the wider implications, where it gets really complex and maybe a bit chilling.
As so.
The source reporting highlights a possibility based on how feasible this operation appeared to be. They point out, look, if you can potentially use everyday things, containers in rail yards, on ships, trucks parked almost anywhere to launch drone attacks.
Then that method isn't unique to this conflict.
Precisely. It could potentially be used deep inside any country, including Western nations. Imagine targeting critical military assets, like strategic bombers sitting out on air bases, not from across a border, but from a truck park just down the road.
That puts things like homeland security in a very different light.
It does. So the final thought we want to leave you with is this. How might the apparent feasibility of these kinds of tactics, as reported here, fundamentally change how we all need to think about security, defense, and spotting threats that might already be inside the wire?